My daughter's name is Amanda, and she is 6 years old. A beautiful little girl, polite and shy, but a little introverted. She do not have many friends, and usually she spends her time playing with her toys. Even when we decided to move out from the city in which we live to another city because of my work conditions, she had no problem with it. The second day she just said goodbye to her few friends, our neighbors, and the teachers, and just like that, she was ready to move. But deep down, I was very worried about her. Changes like home and town are not always an easy thing for kids to adapt with, let alone a little girl who is introverted, but I had hoped that maybe she'll like the new house. It was a huge house with a front garden, a house that is really sweet and spacious and almost looks like a palace. And as I expected, Amanda adapted to the new house quickly. The only problem was that there were no children of her age in the area we were in, which means that she will not have friends and she will not find someone to play with. And therefore, with the more time we spend here, she will become more lonely and more introverted than any time before. I decided to try to help her, so I made a big swing attached to the branch of the largest tree in our front garden. But the strange thing is that somehow she was more introverted, that she spent long hours there on the swing just by herself. As the days went by, she was behaving in a strange and incomprehensible way. She almost stopped talking to us and kept spending her time alone, far from us, sitting on the swing all day long while she was speaking to herself. Of course, as a father, I was worried about her. One day I asked her, "Who do you speak to every day while sitting alone on the swing?" She told me, "This is my fictional friend Daddy. Her name is Sarah." As much as it was strange, just as it was normal for me, I am an educated man and I understood that imaginary friends are a natural thing in this age, especially for my daughter as she's an introvert type of a kid. But the problem was not during the day. The biggest problem was during the night. Amanda was suffering from strange dreams and frightening nightmares. She was screaming and screaming while she was asleep, so much so that on one night my wife woke me up from sleep due to loud voices downstairs, and she was afraid that maybe someone broke into the house. I gathered my courage and went out to see what was happening. I found out that Amanda literally broke a lot of stuff in the house. She was walking while sleeping. The strange thing about the issue is that her eyes were wide open. I tried waking her up and calling her name many times until she woke up, but she did not understand why and how she came here and did not recall anything that happened after she went to sleep. Since that day, the sleepwalking issue began to worsen. Every night she was getting further while sleepwalking. I was afraid that one night she might open the door and get out on the street where a car might hit her or something. I decided to take her to a hospital so that they could inspect her case and see the cause of the sleepwalking problem. They decided to keep her in the hospital for 2 days under observation. During the 2 days, she slept normally, without nightmares, without screaming or snorting during sleep, and without walking at night. They told me that she is very normal, but they also advised me to take her to a psychiatrist so he can confirm if there's something psychologically wrong with her or not. Then I told the doctor about everything that happened. He smiled and said that everything I told him is pretty normal at her age, and that if I really want to help my daughter, I must start introducing her to real friends of her age. And as he suggested, I started doing so. She forced her to meet new friends of her again, and also to spend more time with them. But the strange thing is when she come back, she go to the swing and sit all by herself and to talk to her imaginary friend Sarah again. And the issue of sleepwalking remained, and even got worse as time passes. The nightmares began to affect her more, and the problem was that she began to go out of the house and walk in the garden while she was asleep, and in the morning she did not remember anything the past night, and all she say is that she is tired and exhausted as if she had not slept all night. One night, I woke up to the sound of her steps as she slowly descended the stairs, went out and saw her as she opened the door and went out toward the garden. This time, I decided to walk and see her while I was silent. I wouldn't wake her up. I want to know what she will do, and most importantly, why does she do that? She opened the door of the small hut in which there were gardening tools, and then she got out of the axe. The blood dried in my veins when I saw the axe in her hands while she was asleep. She walked towards the swing, and as soon as she reached the tree, she began to say words in an incomprehensible and low voice. As she slowly digs under the tree, I approached her silently so she don't feel me coming, and at that time, I heard what she was saying. She was repeatedly saying, "I have to get out of here." I shouted to her in fear, "Amanda, get up." But she did not respond, as if she didn't even hear me or sensed my presence. She kept digging under the tree. Her body was shivering from the cold, but she was still sleeping and I did not know what she was doing. I had a crazy idea at the time. I shouted at her and asked her, "You are Sarah, right?" She slowly rolled her face and peeped towards me, and on her face was a pine of sadness. Her eyes were full of fear. She said with a whisper, "You must get me out of here." She fell on the ground unconscious. I ran towards her and was assured that she was breathing. I moved her back to her bedroom, and her mother sat beside her in order to take care of her. And then I went right back to the garden again. I must understand what is happening. I grabbed the axe and started digging around the tree, ignoring the fear that filled my heart. I wanted to understand. I wanted to find an explanation. I started digging more and more until the axe was stuck in a solid object. I looked down and saw it, something white in color. I stretched out my hand and removed dust from it. It was a skull, a human skull. I threw it with fear while I was running towards the house, and I called the police. For more than half an hour of them digging in the ground more further. Finally, they had grabbed the rest of the skeleton from under the ground, and they told me after some investigations that it was a skeleton of a girl who had been living in the city here for a long time and suddenly disappeared without leaving any trace. A girl named Sarah. Investigations also proved that this girl was brutally murdered. They arrested the person who was living in the house before me. He said that he was the one who killed her. He wanted to rape her, and when she resisted, he was afraid and killed her. He buried her in the front garden under the big tree, and he imagined that no one would ever know. The police took Sarah's bones and buried it properly and gave her a respectable funeral. After that, Amanda did not talk to her imaginary friend anymore, except that one time when she entered the house the day after Sarah's skeleton was buried. That day, Amanda said with a smile, "Sarah says thank you." Since that day, everything was back to normal, and we never heard about Amanda talking to Sarah again. I hope that she found peace.
Hey guys, thanks for listening. This is Liam. That was all for today's episode. What do you think about it? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more daily horror stories. Till next time.